Welcome back here today on the beautiful campus of Florida Panhandle Technical College. I've said it the last few shows, but it's definitely summertime. This past weekend, we enjoyed the 61st annual edition of the Panhandle Watermelon Festival. We caught a blessing, I think, though. It rained all the way up to the day before the festival, and then the day after the festival, it started again. In between, we had balmy breezes, warm, clear skies, and I dare say there was anybody that went away not completely satisfied. We're showing some video clips from that event right now. It was a great event. Upcoming is the 4th of July and Wausau Possum Festival. Our guest today, and we do have a treat, it's Hank Hamilton, formerly the county administrator for the County of Washington here in Florida. We're going to be talking a little bit about his experience there, but more importantly, moving forward, Hank has got an interesting new project in which he and his wife Gina are involved. We're going to talk a little bit about that, maybe just talk about the county, talk a little bit about what's going on in the area. As usual, we appreciate your viewership, and we will be right back. Welcome back here today, as I mentioned, with Hank Hamilton.
Good to see you, Paul.
Last time you were on, I think we were just about celebrating your one-year anniversary. I think I jinxed you. You know, I promised you going into this that we would not be in a political vein, and I certainly intend to hold to that. Yeah. But the elephant in the room would be remiss to at least not allude to the fact that you are no longer in that position.
Right.
In my observations, in the 12 years since we have been here, having moved from 30 years in Panama City Beach, we have seen 7 county managers, administrators, coordinators. They've held a variety of titles, all in that same office, all having left for a variety of reasons. But if you do the math, that's a little bit over a year and a half average. Sure. So that said, when we first interviewed and spoke about the position, you were excited. You had just gotten done with your Air Force career. And again, I'd be remiss if I didn't say thank you for your service.
Thank you.
That's something very important to us. I know maybe...
Yeah, sure.
I hate to say that maybe you get tired of hearing that, but I know after a while you start to wonder maybe if people are being sincere when they say that. Right. On this show, that is very important to us.
Well, we appreciate it.
So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
More importantly, or as importantly, certainly, thanks to your wife and your support family. Yeah. You know, we're fully aware that support system of the family as important. You know, we broadcast the local football games, and Bill Chomos is the voice of Florida Panhandle Technical College football. Longtime Army guy himself, retired not that long ago, and he said, you know, he had the easy part. Rucksack, weapon, stepping on a plane. Right. He knew exactly what he was going to be doing for the next year. Right. His decision making was pretty much over. He had SOPs, but he really feared for his wife and the safety of his family, leaving them behind. Yeah. That said, you went into this job extremely excited. Just give us a thumbnail sketch of what happened.
Okay, so sure. The job is an amazing job. You get to make a lot of decisions that really kind of set the pulse of the county. Super exciting, and you get to work with a lot of great people. The county employees are just wonderful people to work with and for. And then the commissioners are always concerned about, hey, am I going to make the right decisions to move the county forward? And so when we took the job, we knew that we were going to be able to make an impact in the county. And then, but we always had in the back of our heart, we always had this thing saying that there's something better for us on the spiritual side of our, because me and Gina both are very solid in our faith, and we take our relationship with Christ pretty serious. And so when we felt this calling on our lives to open this marriage retreat, which we'll get into, we thought about it, and finally we just decided it was time to pull the trigger. There was nothing going on in the county. As a matter of fact, I really thought about, man, I really hate to do this right now because there's so many things in the hopper, and I wanted to be a part of and wanted to have my fingerprint on as we moved forward as a county. But His ways are higher than our ways, and His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. So we weren't able to kind of delay it any longer. There's a lot of things that we're doing on our property that just kind of needed some attention to before we can open up the retreat. And so, working 10-hour days, 12-hour days at the county was something that was kind of slowing our progress down for our calling. And
Tough decision, though.
it was a very tough decision because I really enjoyed that job. And they just hired Mr. Massey to take my place. He's going to do wonderful, and he's going to make the right decisions as well. And so it was really, really tough. And when the day before, I went in and told the chairman and my HR staff that I was putting in my resignation. Me and Gina prayed about it that night, and said, "Okay, let's do this." And I won't lie. There was a part of me that says, "What's the public going to think? If it's going to be such a quick turn in the hot seat, so to speak." But nothing. There was nothing at all on the job side of the house that made it. Was strictly because we want to move forward with our plans for our marriage retreat.
For what it's worth, you were not the quickest turnaround in that seat.
Good.
Well, like I say, 7 over 12 years.
Yeah.
I think many times, much like we do in the polling place, we lose sight of the fact that we pull that lever fully giving our proxy vote to that person,
right,
and yet we still want to micromanage. And I know that sometimes, not saying that was the case with you, but we see it all the time, that there sometimes still is that stick in the stick in the bicycle spokes kind of thing where, man, get up to speed, but then bam, you're
Yeah.
So, and thank you for your candid comments when it comes to that.
Sure.
What strikes me is that when especially your comment about wanting to still have your fingerprint on what the county does going forward, being a business owner in Washington County, you have as much, and in some theaters, even more opportunity to be a part of that moving forward.
Correct.
You still can serve on boards and advisory committees.
Absolutely.
You can actually probably have, it's arguable, but you can probably still have as much, if not more, input at the end of that day over a longer period of time, because let's face it, your business is going to be job secure, and at the end of the day, this one simply is not. Tell me a little bit more about the thought process that went into this new venture and exactly what you're going to be doing.
So
do you have a name for the business yet?
We're thinking of Hamiltonville, and so Gina and I both are divorced, and
not from each other.
No, not from each other. We're pretty fortunate. My dad always told me, because when you get married, be the ugly one, and so I got lucky and was able to meet Gina and get married to Gina. And so when we were going through our courting process, we really talked about, hey, what mistakes did we make in our previous marriage, and how can we avoid that going forward? And hours and hours and hours of conversations about that. And so, and we ended up, we got married, and we just found ourselves being a magnet to other couples who were going through problems, either couples that were engaged in getting ready to be married, or couples that have been married newlyweds, or even 10 to 15 years. It seems like we were the ones they sought to say, hey, what do you guys think about this? How would you guys handle this? And so we started thinking about, man, this is in our hearts, that we want to pour love into these people. In John, it says that, Christ said that love people even as I have loved people. And so we just take that responsibility, and we say, you know what, we're going to do our best to love on people. And we know how sacred the covenant of marriage is, and we want to make sure that we do our part to make sure that people stay together. And so our vision is that we hope that we get people before they get to a crisis. And so if they're having some issues that are not issues now, then we can help cut them off before they become issues. And so we're taking I wrote a book, 5, 6, 7 years ago now. It's called Faith, Finances, and Friendship. And me and Gina and I believe that this is really the foundation of what makes a strong marriage. You've got to share the same faith. An agnostic and a Christian are going to have problems in finances. If you're a spender and I'm a saver, you're going to have problems. And then friendship. Something drew you together as a couple. Either your spouse needs to be your best friend. And so we're hoping that we can take those 3 pillars and just kind of help people build their marriages as they go forward, because it's a sacred covenant that we like to see maintained.
So often relationships on the extreme are based on that $2 shot Friday party, you know.
Yeah, sure.
And sometimes those last forever. You know, I mean, it's the luck of the draw. But it sounds like you definitely, and anybody who has gone through that divorce process should certainly be sensitive to exactly that. Unfortunately, it takes others longer. There might be slower learners.
Right. Slow learners.
Yeah, and they end up with a string of failures that are only important to themselves at the end of the day, you know. Unfortunately, they do impact other lives.
Yeah, of course.
And the older you get, the more you realize how much those ripples definitely spread over time.
Yeah.
Interestingly, Washington County, being just north of the world's most beautiful beaches, the huge tourism trade, the huge economic engine that is Bay County, Washington County has become a very strong bedroom community over the last 40 years.
Right.
We ourselves lived for 30-something years in Panama City Beach, been up here for 10 or 12. Judge Chris Patterson, our circuit court judge, has moved up here to Washington County. Richard Sanders, who heads up sports marketing for the Bay County Tourist Development Council, he's in Sunny Hills. Even the personal injury attorney, Wes Pittman, is over there on 277, longtime Bay County resident. So as we see time go over, or time pass over, at least over the last 10 years, we're seeing more and more of those people. We're fortunate with what we do. We basically put a spotlight on everything that goes on in Washington County. Hopefully the good stuff, you know, because we don't carry the news, so we're not talking about the murders.
It's important.
We have those people, and those three particularly that I mentioned have said to me, you know, part of the reason that we looked at Washington County was because of all the photos that you had from all this stuff going on, realizing you probably got one of the best kept secrets up here. How did you end up in Washington County?
I think it was God, to be honest with you. We lived in Santa Rosa Beach when I was stationed at Herbert Field, and we just we thought that was going to be our retirement home. This is going to be our dream place and all that stuff. Well, after 5 years of 98 traffic, it kind of wears on you, you know. And so we started looking for some property up further north, and so we looked into Washington County, and we looked all around the county. And so we kept coming to place that we ended up in Vernon. You know, we live in Vernon now, and so we kept coming back to our place. We have 75 acres out there, and so I was like, man, something about this place is just peaceful, you know. When I was living in Santa Rosa Beach, between my house and Herbert Field, it was 36 miles, 42 stoplights. So I traversed 84 stoplights a day, and it was horrible, right? Now, you know, when I was working in Chipley, it was one stoplight between Vernon and Chipley, and so when I got stopped by it, I was like, oh, you know, ratting, scratting. But anyway, so we really prayed about what are we going to do after I get out of the military, and how are we going to just kind of be obedient in our calling. And so as I was in Herbert Field and I found the county administrator job online as I was searching for jobs online, we thought, man, this is where we've been looking at this property. Now this job has come open, and so all the pieces of the puzzle were starting to come together. And so we just jumped on it. And to actually acquire the property that we acquired was also just all these pieces of the puzzle just started coming together. You know, just some of the financial parts of it, and some of the, you know, some of the little legalisms that you had to go through to get to the property and all that stuff. So, and it all just fell into place. And so we really felt like, you know, this is why we're here, because all these things all these little pieces of the puzzle that took place to get us here, it was because God wanted us here, and God eventually His plan is to, you know, get that marriage retreat up and running, and so that's how we ended up finding our way to the beautiful county of Washington here. So,
Washington County, going in, we had our first conversation. You hadn't been here that long, but you had just taken over the job. What have you learned about Washington County? You knew it was already a beautiful place, good people, a place that you wanted to potentially spend the rest of your life. What in that year that's ensued, what else have you come up with?
Well, I thought I knew it was a beautiful place. Now I know it's a beautiful place. You know, when we were looking for property, I stayed on the main thoroughfares, and you know, 77 or 79 or 20 across the south side of the county. But man, once I got here and was able, I've driven almost every road in Washington County, and what a beautiful place this is. You know, to have the creek that goes through there, and the rolling hills on parts of the county. Man, it's just beautiful, beautiful place. And I've also realized that there's a lot more to Washington County that people don't know about. And so, you know, if we as a county was a little more strategic in our marketing, then man, this place would just blow up. But you want it to blow up in the right way. You know what I mean? You want it to, you want the right businesses to come and all that stuff. And I think Ted Everett and with the help of people like Jim Town and Gary Hartman and those kind of people are on the right track to get us to where because they've got some great ideas, and now they've got a good board to work with. To help them kind of see some business develop and coupled with the city of Chipley. And so marketing, or strategic marketing to get the right things done, and just what I've learned so much about the county is that the people here are nice. You know, every day I dealt with somebody who wanted a pothole filled in their yard, or, you know, a tree limb that's fell down and blocking their driveway, whatever the case may be. And 99% of them were very grateful that we came out and helped as quickly as we did, and things like that. So the people of Washington County, they're just nice people, you know?
You've come away from that job, if nothing else, being a huge resource for those who know you and probably have your new phone number. Mm-hmm. If they want to know where a road is, chances are you're going to be able to tell them.
I do.
You know, as you point out, there are places in Washington County that we didn't know there were places.
That's right. Yeah.
When you get, especially down there close to the creek, anytime you get around water, obviously roads follow water. And my goodness, some of those areas, they become different names when you cross through an intersection, and you don't even realize it happened.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about E911, road naming, that sort of things. What have you taken away? Are there things that you can offer as words of wisdom going forward to alleviate some of those issues of being able to navigate? If anything.
I don't know. That's a tough one. You know, Clint Erickson does a good job over at the E911 office as far as mapping. And he's got rules he has to follow. You know, you can't have X amount of houses on the street before it has to be named, you know, on a private road. X amount of acreage can't hold X amount of houses.
Aren't they trying to change that one?
They may be looking into it, but, I mean, it's pretty...
There was some recent controversy, was there not?
I'm not sure if it was controversy or not, but you just have to make sure that...
I thought something could not get done because of the existing...
Well, you just got to be smart about your decisions, you know, and so is it... And you have to think about what kind of precedent does it set. You know, if you make this decision.
Do it for one.
Yes, right. So, that's really how a lot of decisions are made when it comes to that kind of stuff. Is like, hey, what does the next board have to deal with? You know, so let's be careful about the decisions we're making now, because, and you know, we're you know, as commissioners and as county staff, we're not going to be here in 5, 10, 12 years. You know, so what decision do we make that makes it? But the E91, I'm not sure. You know, we've got a guy in our road sign shop down at our Public Works division who just does a bang-up job. He's a young kid, and he's been on that job probably 8 months now, and he's all over the place. We bought him a new truck, and he's probably already got 50,000 miles on his truck, you know. So, and he's a hard worker, and when he sees a sign that's
important position.
It actually is an important position, you know what I mean? And that's where the county needs the public help. And so they notice that there's a street sign missing or down, or heck, even needs to be pressure washed or something, you know, because they can't read the numbers on the speed limit sign or something. They need to call Public Works and say, hey, you know, there used to be a street sign here. And the county probably would appreciate if some people would quit shooting all our signs.
Unfortunately, there's no cure for stupid, and you take young kids, firearms,
kids
every once in a while a little bit of alcohol, and it's not always kids. It may be a 50-year-old kid, but there's no legislating that, certainly.
Yeah, that's right.
What are some, coming out of that position, and you were certainly intimate with all of the machinations, all of the internal workings, what are some of the issues that we face? I know that, interestingly, the last time that you were on, I think I asked you, what are some of our most poignant problems that we face?
Right.
Is it roads? And you said, whatever answer you gave, somebody made a comment.
That's right.
How can you possibly say that? I understood your answer and where you were going.
The answer was dirt roads. And I said, I'm not sure dirt roads are a problem. You have to maintain them. You just have to maintain them.
Which is accurate.
Very accurate. And we do a really good job of maintaining dirt roads. And so,
But when it's your road that's washboarded,
that's right.
It doesn't matter that they came by the day before yesterday.
That's correct. You can't please everybody all the time. And so,
And unfortunately, there are some that you never please, and they're just looking for something to complain about.
well, that's okay. I mean,
you deal with that.
You deal with that. I mean, that's part of the job. And those people are citizens of this county, and they deserve the services that every other citizen that gets. And so, so that's not an issue. And so, having the ability to, you talked about the problems of Washington County, the water and sewer, but the board that is in place now, they're looking to, hey, how can we develop 77 and I-10? The Highway 79 corridor has been in the news quite often. They just got $1 million to help that project go along. So there's plans in place to water and sewer. That's the problem. You know what I mean? And there's several commissioners that understand that and they get that, and they're going to make that problem go away, and they're going to do things that are right so that the businesses can be developed, and so that the right parts of the county can grow. And so, and as the county grows, if you get more people, maybe they'll have more marriage problems, and they'll start to come get at our place or whatever. No, I'm just kidding about that. But so the decisions are being made. I think the right decisions are being made. You're not going to please everybody all the time. We put in a beautiful new landing down there, high tower landing area, and it's paid for with grant funds and all this, and beautiful. I saw a guy fishing off of it, and I said, "Hey, how you like this new deck?" It's a waste of money, blah blah blah. I'm like,
but he's using it.
But he's using it. You know what I mean? And so I'm like, you shouldn't. People have the perception that the county is wasting tax dollars. They don't understand the process of grants, and I shouldn't say they. A lot of residents don't understand that we get a lot of this free money from grants and things like that. But it's and a lot of times it is literally free money. The state's giving it to us, and they'll say there's nothing for free, right? The taxpayers are paying for it.
Well, you and I have put that money into the state fund.
We have put that state fund in there. But as far as an immediate impact and out of your wallet, as a county resident, it just, the county they look for ways to make sure that the citizens don't have to pay a lot of extra money for extra services and extra goods. So.
One of the bigger pitfalls of grant money is that it does give you that ability to build something. Unfortunately, when the grant money's gone, sometimes you don't have the money to maintain that.
You do have to think about the maintenance costs. That's true.
So, and many have gotten themselves into trouble. I'm not saying necessarily in Washington County. As a matter of fact, Washington County has succeeded in not getting into trouble. I think that for a number of years, there was a move to get a convention center. That's a lofty term, just a nicer ag center, basically.
Sure.
But again, building something of that nature and then being able to afford the maintenance, the electrical bills, and all of that means putting on a new person, for maintenance and cutting the grass. You can build a sports complex, but if you can't afford to have somebody cut the grass, it's useless to you.
Yeah, right.
I envy you. You actually coming out of this high-profile, high-impact job, now starting this new career for all intents and purposes. The ability to impact lives, to follow what you're being led to do through your spirituality, that's huge. I would imagine that there's going to be many opportunities in many different venues to use that facility that you're building. When do you plan on actually being in operation?
So we're shooting for March of 2018 because we got some renovations that we're going through right now with the property and things of that nature. So we want to get it set up so that when we host the first couples in there, they leave with a man, that was awesome, So we don't want to have, and the course is going to be 3 to 4 days. We haven't quite figured that out yet. We're going to really write the curriculum to help us decide if it's going to be a 3-day course or a 4-day course, and then. But we don't want them to leave. We don't want them to show up and we still have, Tyvek across the side of a building somewhere or whatever, or not. We don't want to halfway do it.
Sure.
And so we want them to leave.
That said, though, you're probably, especially if you're successful, and I can't help but think that you will be, you're probably always going to be growing. So there's always going to be that expansion thing going on, probably.
With maybe some of the amenities, but
that's what I mean.
Yeah. I don't want to grow. I don't want to grow with the clientele, so to speak.
Just because it's a demand, you're not going to host 50 people.
That's correct.
I would imagine churches and pastors would be one of your largest referrers.
Absolutely, yeah. So the pastor of our campus, Pastor Wayne Asperditis, he's already said, I've got some people who are good candidates to come up there who are not in a crisis, but they've got some small bugs some small wrinkles they need to iron out before they get to that. So we're going to do a trial run. We've got some very close friends of ours that we want to invite in, spend 3 days with them, go over his course, and then let them give us honest feedback about, hey, I would change this, I would not do this, I would do this, and so kind of help us tweak it before we go live, so to speak.
It goes without saying, you put a huge amount of talk, prayer, planning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, you said you were looking at what date to get started?
About March of 2018 is really what we're shooting for.
Okay.
So
you get 9 months.
Yeah.
It's kind of like giving birth. You've got, and literally.
That's great. Yeah. And that's we mentioned the corn analogy a while ago. We're planting the seed now, and so now we're going to water it and nurture it, and watch that blade of grass pop up, and then eventually the stalk and the ears of corn will come out. But so it is. That's a great way to put it. I didn't even think about that. That was going to be 9 months, and we'll be giving birth to our new project.
If you're doing a newsletter to let people know what's going on, you could almost do it like that with a stork, and have how close you are to turn.
Yeah.
I would imagine that there's a huge need for just this kind of a service.
There is, and the fact that Gina and I have walked through that is. Makes us, I think it equips us to help others. And so you won't believe how many people have made that comment that you just made. Man, there's a need for that. There's a need for that. And so we're just excited to be about, but this is something else that's on our heart is we want it to be free for the couples that come. And so not to say that the churches cannot donate if they want to donate, or what we're thinking about, and again, this is strictly in the planning phase of it, but if a couple comes and they want to pay it forward and they want to sponsor another couple to come, we'll definitely accept those donations. But if I'm married to a lady and we're arguing about finances all the time, I don't want to charge them $3,000 to, you know what I mean? So why am I going to pay $3,000? That's why we fight, because we don't have any money, So
well, you said the word safe place. Mm-hmm. When you go to any kind of a therapist, mm-hmm. that's the reason people say, well, why do you go to somebody you don't even know, pay them $100 an hour or more to talk to them when you can just talk to them? Well, first of all, you're never going to see them in real life, so you're not wary about what you say to them. You by default are going to have both of those people in that relationship. And I would, there's another question that brings up, and I'll bring that up here in a second. Both of them have to feel like they want to be there. You can't just drag somebody along and say, we're going to go to this focus group or we're going to go to this seminar, mm-hmm. because you have to have that complete honesty. So that, even though there's a big need for this, I think that's the big stumbling block, is getting people to accept the fact that they need help, that they want help, and that they're willing to go with that person that they're arguing with every single day to talk about that help. I think that's something probably that pastors do every single day.
I'm sure they do, and that's something that we'll make sure that we drive home that point. Is like, listen, now that you're here, you're here. Let's take advantage of it. Don't put up those guards and don't put up those defenses. Let's go ahead and let's see what the issues are. Let's see how we can help you walk through them and talk through them, and get you on the road to a successful marriage.
Yeah, I can see where it would be beneficial, maybe for you just to host brunches that you invite people to come, and they're a 2-hour thing, and you just get to talk and mix and mingle. And if you are interested, then let's go ahead and make an appointment for you that you can then come for our next session. But until I meet you, I don't know that I want to bare my soul to you.
Yeah. I'm such a likable guy, though. I'm going to...
No doubt. I would imagine that there are a lot of pastors, in spite of the number of years that they have been a preacher or a pastor, that simply don't have the capacity to deal with certain problems of life.
Sure.
And it has really nothing to do with the fact whether they've walked that walk necessarily.
Right.
But nonetheless, how can you respect somebody to teach you how to use that machine gun if they have never fired one themselves?
And that's what that's what we were talking about earlier.
Analogy in a divorce situation.
Yeah. Well, that's right. Yeah. But we gotta, Gina and I will have to know our limits of where we cannot help these people. And so once we get to that point, if we get to that point, then we're going to set up a referral system or a network of referral systems that we really get them the help that they need. You know, if someone comes in and they've got a drug addiction problem or a domestic violence type of problem, you know, I'm not qualified
bigger
to do
picture
that.
there.
Yeah, there's a bigger picture there. You know what I mean? So we're going to have to really pray about where do we draw the line about. Okay, maybe you should see a professional. You know, so and we'll get there. You know, and it's going to be. We'll get there because we'll study and we'll plan and we'll prepare for this type of stuff, and B, we'll get there because we're dedicated to make this thing successful, and we don't want couples to go away and be like, man, I told him I had this type of issue, and he didn't even help it. Him and Gina didn't help me at all. You know, so that was what a waste of 3 days that was. You know.
Yeah, all you can really do is start conversation. Yeah. You can't give anybody solutions because those things are in their heart and in their own head. Yeah. And more importantly, in that relationship, that's a much deeper situation.
Sure.
You're going to see them for a few days or a few hours. And, you know, it would seem like this is a great opportunity, though, for people to at least accept the fact that they want to work towards something.
That's right.
You give them a great place to go away to. Are you on the creek?
We're close.
Okay.
Yeah, we're super close, and so that is part of our plan.
Be able to kayak or tube or something.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So. What better environment to learn than one in which you're having fun? That's how you teach kids in school.
Yeah, and we, you know, our curriculum that we're going to use, it will be. We're looking at the ratios now, but we're looking probably 40% class time, 60% personal time type stuff. So the last thing we want them to do is to come up there and us bombard them with, you know, okay, at 7:30 we're going to pray for 4 hours, and then we're going to eat dinner, and then we're going to, after that we're going to read the Bible for 14 hours, and then we're going to, you know, so we're going to make it as conducive as possible for them to get into an atmosphere where they really work out their own problems, and we just kind of facilitate it. You know what I mean? So
I know we've got friends that have gone away to seminars for couples, and they may have had at the end of the day the broader aspect of saving or repairing marriages, but many times healthy couples will go to these just to get a different perspective.
Oh yeah, get recharge.
Kind of a continuing education unit.
That's
almost.
Absolutely, yeah. So there's a class that's offered in the retreat we talked about in Texas, and their course is called From Good to Great, where these people have good marriages. Now they want a great marriage. So, and hopefully we get. Hopefully the stigma is gone that you go to marriage counseling because you have problems. You know, there's healthy marriages that go to counseling to stay healthy, you know. And so, you know, we'll get some of those, and we'll learn from them so that we can give those experiences to people that are trying to get to that point. So if you have kids, what an impact on the kids it will be. Finances, if you choose to go to a lawyer and you have a lot of assets to divide up.
Public perception.
Some
people are still castigated because they're that divorced woman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, or a divorced man.
Sure. Yeah, and so if we can just save one marriage, then we've been successful. Because I can't say this enough. It's in our hearts, because I have truly married my best friend. You know, me and Gina we have a textbook marriage. We love each other. I would do anything in the world for it. And something that we'll think will drive home the point is we want spouses to cherish each other. You know, and when sometimes when you take your vows, you say to love and to cherish. Well, I love her. I love my mom, but I don't cherish my mom. I cherish my spouse. And so I cherish Gina. And so what does it mean to cherish her? Well, you know, that's something that we're going to try to drive into other couples. Like, you need to cherish your spouse, because that's the only one you got, and that's the only one you should have for the rest of your life, you know? And so, you know, if something that was to happen to Gina, it would devastate me, because we're so closely connected and we're so bonded that we're just, you know, we're one. So it's pretty awesome, and it would be very selfish of us not to show other people how great marriage can be.
Well said. Best of luck going forward.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time today. Mm-hmm. Thanks for discussing the county with us.
Yeah, sure.
But the bigger picture here was that going forward, your new endeavor, please plan on coming back and letting us know what's going on. Again, I think that you can't be anything but successful. Obviously, you're passionate about this new project, so thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah. Our guest today has been Hank Hamilton, up to recently the county administrator for Washington County, Florida, starting a brand new phase or chapter of his life Hank, a longtime Air Force veteran, thank him and any other veteran that you ever come across for their service. Without them, we wouldn't enjoy the freedom to talk about exactly what we talked about on our show today. We'll be right back.